بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to allow Islamic organizations like CISNA to be a guide, in the direction, for the Islamic schools, inshallah, to better improve. Thanks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward all of the efforts and the hard work of our educators in Islamic education. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to provide for the Islamic educational institutions and continue to strengthen them and allow them to grow.
Ameen. Ameen. Jazakallah khair. So we're very excited. CISNA is very, very excited. We have been doing this for quite some time. We've been accrediting schools since 2012. We've been working with Advanced Ed, now Cognia, since that time. And also we are not only partners with Advanced Ed Cognia, but we're also a partner with NEASC, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. So they also have the Islamic standards as one of the, they add them to, they partnership is a little bit different. They allow schools who are getting NEASC accredited to be able to complete the CISNA standards as well. Now, this partnership right now has just changed. So before it was dual accreditation. If a school went to Cognia and wanted to become accredited with Cognia, they could add CISNA and it would be, the CISNA standards would be added on. So we were kind of an add-on accreditation. We've always talked about being a standalone accreditation agency, and this is really taking us in that direction. So we are in a way standalone because now we are the lead accreditor or lead partner with Cognia. What that means is a school that is going through accreditation with CISNA will work on one set of standards, follow one protocol, conduct one school visit from the CISNA review team, will coordinate with just CISNA as the agency, but will receive dual accreditation. So that's the really big news. It takes all that, the complication out of it, where schools were dealing with CISNA standards, Cognia standards, CISNA protocol, Cognia protocol, what was going to happen with the visit. Cognia was doing virtual, CISNA is still doing on-site. So now it's streamlined. It's much simpler and you deal just with one agency. Now you do have two options. A school can choose to have Cognia as the lead accreditor. If they do that, they would follow all the Cognia protocols. And if they wanted to have CISNA be CISNA accredited as well, they would also have to follow the CISNA protocols and host an on-site visit when that would not be at the same time. The documents would not be due at the same time. The visit would not be the same time. Cognia still does on-site for if there's a unique reason to do so, or if the school specifically requests it. But CISNA has been doing on-site visits. We delayed them during COVID, and then we were catching up on the schools that did not or were not able to go through hosting CISNA team. So we're still doing CISNA visits. And then Cognia has now moved to a 6-year cycle. We still have a 5-year cycle before the next visit becomes due. If a school selects the option of having CISNA as the lead accreditor, then CISNA the school follows the CISNA protocol. The school would host an on-site visit with the CISNA team, and you'd be on the CISNA 5-year cycle. What would happen is, if that were the case, Cognia would basically just gives us that we're the decision makers. So let me get into that slide. Maybe that'd be helpful. If a school selects CISNA as the lead accreditor, you would inform us and start that process. You would apply for, many of your schools already have accreditation, so you'd be renewing the accreditation if it's been 5 years plus already. You would also apply for Cognia membership if you wanted to have both CISNA and Cognia. If you wanted just CISNA, you don't have to go through Cognia at all. But if you want to be a Cognia accredited member as well, you apply for Cognia membership. And when you do that, you have access to the Cognia tools, the resources on their website, and the workspace where you would upload all your documentation evidence. Now, that question has been asked. I'm just going to answer really quickly here. The Cognia workspace is not required. It's not required for you to add your documents to workspace. You can send them or share them as Google Docs to the CISNA office at gmail.com email address. The school would then complete the readiness checklist. And all of these documents I'm going to be sending out to all of our accredited schools. I'm going to send like an information packet that has all this information. I'll make a, this is being recorded, so I'll send the recording of this, if it lasts, however long we're on the call. And I will send the readiness checklist, the self-study, the assurances, Islamic identity survey, alumni survey, and information about the on-site visit. So you will get information packet that tells you how all these things work. The assurances, I just want to point out, if you've done Cognia visits before or Cognia accreditation before, you know that they have a set of assurances which basically is a yes or no. They're assurances. They want to be assured that you have XYZ. And they still require that, even if CISNA is taking the lead, their assurances, they want to make sure they're satisfied. So we have incorporated them into our protocol, right? So that's one thing. Uploading evidence, as I mentioned, you would be able to upload evidence either to the Cognitive Workspace, to which CISNA and the CISNA team will have access, or you can choose to send the evidence to CISNA via email or sharing Google Documents. The surveys, we have asked Cognia to make our surveys available on their website. So if you decide to do that and decide to use their workspace and their tools, you would have access, inshallah, to the CISNA surveys on the Cognia website or on their workspace. The way we do it, and I don't know if that would be allowed if you chose to use the Cognia workspace to conduct your surveys, we send you a Word document of our surveys, the alumni survey and the stakeholder surveys for students, staff members, parents, and students at different grade levels, by the way. That way you're able to use whichever instrument you'd like to use, whether it's SurveyMonkey, Google Forms, however, and you can also add other questions. So it gives you that flexibility. So you get our Word document. The important thing for us is not for us to get into your business and see who said what, but we want to make sure you're conducting surveys, reviewing them, analyzing them, using them to make improvements to your school or make changes as needed to your programs. Now, after the CISNA review has been completed and all the documents I'll send you will have information on how the CISNA review is done, about the team and how many team members, and we'll have opportunities for you guys to ask questions after this. But once the review is completed, the CISNA board would approve the report. The report is written by the team. It goes to the CISNA board. The CISNA board approves it or may say, you know what, there's something that's really needs to be attended to before we can approve them for accreditation. So then you might be pending until you do whatever it is that needs to be done. Once CISNA board has approved the final report of the visiting team, we send that to the Cognia Global Commission. The Cognia Global Commission meets 5 times a year. So it does take some time for you to get that piece done. They approve it. They really rely on CISNA. And so we have to do our due diligence, make sure everything is done right, make sure all the paperwork is there, that you're in compliance with all the requirements as a Cognia member in good standing, as a CISNA member in good standing. The Global Commission approves the report, and then Cognia will list the school as an accredited school in good standing on their website. We would do it once we've approved. Once the CISNA board is approved, you would be on our website. This annual fees have to be submitted to both Cognia and CISNA, and that's done separately. We don't collect for Cognia. Cognia doesn't collect for us. The process that we have right now is repeated every 5 years, unless there's something unusual. We ask for something to be taken care of before the 5 years are up, in which case we might have to send a team out, or at least one person out to address a particular issue. If it's something that can be done virtually, it could be done virtually. So, as I said before, you'll all receive an email with all of this information, but what I really wanted you to do is use this time to see if you guys all have any questions and be able to answer them if they're anything unique to your school. So you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you like, and ask any questions that you have. Wa alaikum assalam.
I guess since we're going through the accreditation process this year with the UAF in Tampa, I did have a few questions. One question was in regards to the reaccreditation or the I guess the review after 6 years versus 5 years, 6 years for Cognia and 5 years for CISNA. So since they're on a different cycle, so if the Cognia comes in after 5 years, would that also be renewal for Cognia, or would they come like the 6th year and actually do that?
It would follow, if CISNA is the lead accreditor, Cognia will follow our process completely.
Okay, so even with the renewal status, okay.
Unless you chose Cognia as the lead accreditor. You
yes,
follow
unless
the
you-
protocol
yes.
of whichever agency
Okay.
you select.
Okay, perfect. Also, in regards with the, I guess with the surveys, the Islamic identity surveys, are you all looking for like a specific percentage of replies from each stakeholder? So, for example, if the school has, 700 students, for example, what percentage are you looking for in regards to replies from each of those like stakeholders? So if we have, I don't know, 400, families, what is the percentage, that we're looking at? Are we looking at, 50% more or less? Inshallah.
So I'll ask my CISNA colleagues to chime in as well. We are not specifically looking for a certain number, but what it does tell us, it tells us something. It should tell you something if the response is low, right? So we may suggest, if you're getting a low response from students, let's say, you might say, perhaps use lunchtime or study hall, or at some point to have the kids come to a laptop or computer or computers or computer lab if you have it to take the surveys. Staff, if your survey responses are low, I mean, you could do it at a staff meeting. Everyone just take this time to take the survey. Parents, it's a little bit more difficult. We might suggest sending reminders and so forth. So it's a good practice to do what you can to get the most responses, but we don't require, well, if you didn't have this much response, then that's a strike against you, or anything like that. Layla, William, Azra, anyone, if you'd like to add something to that.
I would just add that we don't have that specific number percentage, although I have seen other accrediting agencies define the number. And I would tell you that a general rule of thumb would be that the percentage is higher for the people that you can control the most. So meaning students, you can control that. So you really want to go around 90 to 100%, for the students in those grades, because you can put them in front of a computer and say, you've got 10 minutes, you need to do this. Staff would be the next highest level group that you could have control over, right? So you'd really want to try to get 80% staff, ideally, if not more, up to 100. For parents is the hardest group to control, right? You can influence it. So I would say go for a number that's representative of your school body.
Right. Okay.
And so, you'd want to make sure that it's not just a number. Maybe you would say 50% to 75% if you can, but also make sure that you're getting responses from, let's say you can check in your survey and see when they mark the grade, you don't have anyone from high school parents who filled it out, or anyone from middle school, or only, 5. Try to make sure it's representative, because the purpose of the survey is not just a checkbox for us to say, look, you did your survey, good, here's your percentage, but rather it's for your own benefit, so that you can learn and get feedback that will help you grow. And we're just using that as part of giving you another perspective when we look at that and see what you're working on, and maybe just give you some guidance based off of it. Hopefully that helps.
Yes, definitely. And I guess the last one before, okay.
No, I was just going to add, which Brother William touched upon at the end, is you really want to look at the surveys as one of the ways that you're trying to inform your self-improvement process. So whatever you need to do as a school to get responses is really important to encourage parents. And I think in the process, it's always important to let your stakeholders know what's happening. Let them know that accreditation is coming, that you're doing surveys, and how you're using the process. The more informed they are, the more buy-in there is, the more they feel empowered. Like this is a process that's their involvement in the school improvement process. So I think focusing on that is really important, and it would get your numbers up. Inshallah.
I just wanted to quickly say that while William was talking about the stakeholders that are closer to you, parent body could also be, we could get many surveys for them to give the service while they visit any parent night or when they come in for some sort of a gathering in the school. Usually they're sitting around and we find a lot of success for them to give it a laptop or something to fill it out at that time.
You had one more question, Brother Yusuf?
Yeah, it was. Would you all be in the future developing a workspace, that platform where everything kind of be uploaded, on that particular workspace? I mean, I think it's a lot beneficial to just going through the process, trying to like come up with our own system of like, okay, making sure that each stakeholder who's part of that committee kind of like submitted with shared documents, and then you have to take all of that information and add it to the primary document. But I think definitely that workspace will be beneficial. I guess in the future. So is that something y'all going to be looking in on?
We've been discussing it. We haven't made any final decisions right now. At least at this point, at least in the coming year. The plan is to offer schools, if they're Cognia members, use that workspace or share with us with a Google Doc. What I've done for some other schools is create the folder, the the Drive folder, shared it with the accreditation team at the school, and then they manage and upload evidence into folders, and they have some control over it as well. But we've talked about this. That would be more development of the website. So that's a long-term process.
Okay.
If we go towards that.
That was all the questions I had.
Okay. Anyone else have questions? They can, if they're specific to your school, they might be specific for someone else too. So please go ahead and ask. It's a good opportunity.
Assalamu alaikum, it's Diane. I was just wondering about time frames. I mean, I know we're supposed to have a accreditation review next year, but I'm not sure how all the time frames fit in order when we should have things done in that. Can you expand a little bit on that?
So what we would like to see is the self-study completed and submitted at least 4 weeks before the team is to visit. We want to give the team members enough time to review and highlight areas where they have more questions, perhaps to identify any other evidence that we need. We get pretty lenient, and the school says to me, "Oh, we're not ready yet. Can we have a few more days?" That really hurts the process, because then the team members have to really crunch and get, process that information so that the visit is the best it can be. So we really want to have at least a month before the visit, everything uploaded, submitted, surveys completed, analysis, summaries done of the surveys, the self-study with links embedded in it so that the team members can read, go to the links, and then be able to ask the questions they need to ask once they're on site.
Okay, do you contact us for the final date, or do we contact you? Or?
Once a school submits their accreditation application, and that's for the new school, but for renewals, I do send reminders saying your school is up for accreditation. I send the self-study and other documents and ask which month would you like to have your visit conducted in. Now, the problem I've had sometimes is that the email that I'm sending it to, sometimes principals change, email addresses change. So I'm going to be also sending a Google form to collect some data, names, email addresses, phone numbers, things like that, because that's had been a problem before, is that kind of communication where I don't hear back and then I'm waiting to find out, and then a school will be like, okay, this is the date we want, and that date is taken, and everyone wants to do it like before Ramadan or after Ramadan or in the spring. Rarely do people want to do it in September because it's too early in the school year. So then the scheduling becomes difficult. So I'll send you a reminder that your school is up for reaccreditation. Please do respond to it, or even say, you know what, we're not sure yet. We'll get something, or assign someone, because I know the principal gets hundreds of emails every day. So maybe assign someone else and let us know who that contact person is for accreditation. I think that'll help facilitate the schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I would say that my advice, both as a principal and someone who's led accreditation visits for Cognia and CISNA, would be the first priority would be to establish the date and try to do that as soon as possible. Then what I would really suggest is as early as possible, but at least maybe 6 months ahead, you start kind of thinking through what your process is going to be in terms of who's going to be responsible for gathering the evidence, who are going to be the points of contact. And once all of that happens, usually what we do is, let's say your visit is going to be in December. Usually the lead evaluator is going to contact you about 2 months ahead of that visit, and then start talking a little bit about what the schedule might look like and agreeing upon some action items, and then trying to get that evidence, about a month before the visit, like Sister Sufia said. So hopefully that helps a bit as well.
If I could ask a question just to underscore again, I don't know if anybody else is on here who has, Assalamualaikum, by the way, this is Reem. Anybody else who is up for Cognia reaccreditation this year, like our school is, and I'm hoping, inshallah, and assuming that CISNA is going to take the lead. They have a February 1st deadline. Are you recommending that for folks that are like my school, or is it still just the 4-week lead time?
That's a Cognia protocol. They're doing things differently. They have a team that just, when the evidence is submitted, they have a team at every state level, district level, that starts reviewing it. If your lead accreditor is CISNA, your deadline for submitting documents is going to be a month before the visit, unless something changes. I don't foresee that change, at least not this year.
Okay, Jazakumullahu khairan.
And if you are up for accreditation with Cognia this year, at first they had said, continue with Cognia, but they're saying if any school chooses, you should reach out to them and say, we did some training with Cognia, we've done some of the work, we've, with the lead accreditor or someone has come out and done a readiness visit or something, but now that you have an option for CISNA being the lead accreditor, we'd like to switch over. Now, there is a fee associated with Cognia that they would still want to collect, and that's out of our hands. You'd have to speak with them, but I suggest you reach out to Cognia if you want to switch to CISNA being the lead accreditor this school year. Unless you're a new school, in which case I think you have a choice, so then you're fine.
Can I ask for a new school, what might be the timeline? What would be our next step after this meeting?
For a new school to start the accreditation process, you said, well, first of all, you have to be a general member, right? So you become a member. Your school should have been in operation for at least a year. You apply for accreditation, so one-time fee, accreditation fee. And once you apply for accreditation, you get all that paperwork from you, all that information, standards, surveys, and so forth. And then, I'll be reaching out to you to say, what do you think for your timeline? When can you put an accreditation team in place at your school? When would you like to host the visit? And we'll start working towards it. And we can set up Zoom meetings with your team, with your leadership team, board members, if they're interested in finding out more about the process, and we'll work with you at your, at your level for your schedule.
I would just say, since we're going through the accreditation process, the website was extremely helpful. And it has the infographics of, outlining the steps. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so alhamdulillah, definitely visit the website because everything is, outlined there, so.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because I know I have to change some things there too. I have to make some updates now that we've become the lead accreditor. So I'm going to be looking at that and see if there's anything. But basically, when I send you the packet, that'll be the most updated information, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
This is
assalam.
Sister. My name is Sister Margaret. I'm from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Will there be a problem with having accreditation over here in the island?
I don't see any problem. We're actually conducting an accreditation visit in Dubai for next generation school in December, the first week of December. So there's the protocols are the same, deadlines, for submission are the same. I don't anticipate any problems unless there's anything in terms of travel.
No. A second question. You said that there's accreditation forms. How do we secure such forms for the accreditation process?
The website is the first place to start, CISNAUSA.org. There's information there.
What
And
is
then
that again?
William, would you type it into the chat? It's CISNAUSA.org, CISNAUSA.org.
Thank you. Shukran.
And and you have my email address, my contact is there, cisnaoffice@gmail.com. And I can send you or answer questions, send you documents. And Sister Margaret, I think I have your contact information, right? You get CISNA emails?
Yes, ma'am.
Nice to see you on the call. Yeah, so everyone will be getting the information packet. So hopefully that'll help to answer some of your questions as well. If you want to set up a meeting with me, phone meeting or a Zoom meeting, we can also do that to answer any questions you might have.
Shukran.
I don't think it would be difficult to staff a team of volunteers to go to the islands to do it. That's just my inclination. I don't think you're going to get a lot of hesitation for that. So don't stress about that point, please. Right ahead.
Sister Margaret, in the chat, there's a link to the CISNA membership and CISNA accreditation. And those will take you to the website, and you can see all of the applications that you need if you just there in the chat.
Yeah,
and Sister Mariam, you're asking, sorry. Go ahead, William.
Yeah, I was going to speak to that point. Just the question about
Okay.
the benefit of switching from Cognia for reaccreditation this year. So I understand, Sister Mariam, that you're currently an accredited school with Cognia. Is that right?
Yes, we are accredited, and this is our second reaccreditation, actually.
Excellent. So do you have CISNA accreditation already as well?
No, actually, I believe we do. Yes, Crescent View Academy in Colorado.
Yeah, so I think you have to check with your principal because I believe that lapsed. So we can talk offline
Okay.
if you like.
Sure.
But yeah, check with him about that, inshallah.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
But either way, you want to think about this. I think your question is there an advantage? So you were planning on already going through the Cognia accreditation procedure, right, to do your reaccreditation. And
Yeah,
then,
we've already begun, actually, and that's my question. Like, if we've already begun and started the process, I hear that you're saying that it can pretty easily be switched, but what would be the benefit of doing that?
yeah. And how much have you done already in terms of starting? Have you already uploaded evidence? Have you been working specifically with the Cognia standards?
Yes, the principal has already started a lot of the paperwork. We've done the surveys, and several of those items have been uploaded.
Good. So just an explanation maybe for you and maybe for everyone else's benefit is that in summary, the standards that we have for CISNA were approved by Cognia, meaning we had to do a crosswalk and make sure that the areas are addressed in both of the standards so that Cognia can confidently say that when CISNA does an accreditation visit for a school such as yours and says that yes, this school should be accredited, then more or less the procedure is automatic for you to be granted the dual accreditation. So if there's in any way you were considering, the CISNA accreditation, this would be the best way absolutely to go about doing it because you get to do it in one go. On the second point is that if you've already started the work, there is so much overlap in the standards, although ours may add just a little bit when it comes to focusing on the Quran, Arabic, and Islamic studies element. So I don't think that there would be a significant amount of extra work that would need to be done if you've already started it. I think so much of it is already overlapping. The advantage is that while Cognia seems to have a blurry line about how the visit is going to take place, whether it's going to be virtual or whether it's going to be in person, this would guarantee you the option to have an in-person visit by a team of people who understand Islamic schools because they have worked or are currently working in Islamic schools, versus a Cognia visit, either virtual or not, is done by people who may understand education very well, but they tend to be, because I've served on many teams with Cognia members for Islamic schools, they tend to know essentially nothing when it comes to the climate, the type of schools that we have, the culture, the successes and the challenges. And so you really are going to get a team who not only understands the academic components and the administrative aspect of running a school, but also the specific highlights that you are trying to achieve as an Islamic school as well. So I think any little extra changes shifting over aren't going to be that significant, and the benefits are going to be great in terms of the quality and the targeted feedback that you would get from the result to help you improve.
In addition to what Brother William shared as well, I will just also add, as a school that's also undergoing supposedly the Cognia process, the CISNA process is way more straightforward, mashallah. The Cognia one has been, especially with all their changes. So in addition to having somebody who really understands what you're trying to do, you're also just following a simpler, more streamlined, friendlier process.
Jazakumullah khair for the responses. I appreciate it.
And I think a couple years, some years ago, we went through accreditation. Well, this at that time it was advanced ed for a school in Union City. However, two out of the three visitors, they were actually representing Cognia. I'm sorry, CISNA as well. So I mean, they will reach out to the team. So it's really like more like a CISNA visit, than a Cognia visit, because they'll try to reach out, to people that could actually do both. So I think Sister Susan, she was one of those that actually came to our school at that particular time. So I mean, like I said, I mean, it is more of an advantage, of going through the CISNA accreditation process than the actual Cognia, because they're going to reach out to, the visitors to see, if they can actually do both anyway. So I don't know.
Since Cognia has moved away from the on-site visits, unless there's a special circumstance, we at CISNA really feel that it's really important to be there in the school, in the classrooms, to really get an understanding of the atmosphere, the culture, speak to students and teachers and parents in person, walk the halls. So that's definitely, I think, an advantage to going with CISNA, because with Cognia they might not have the on-site visit anyway. And I know they're having, it depends on the state you're in, right? So for them to be able to find Muslim educators, and they try to make sure they have that context and put people in the team who would have a better understanding of that school's cultural context. It's not always possible depending on your geographic region.
And many of those team members were people in this room too, who may be busy with the CISNA accreditation visits now and unable to serve on those Cognia teams. Just something to consider.
If I can add something, this is Yelena Naeem from Al-Falah Academy in Atlanta. When we were last accredited, one thing that came up in our debrief and discussion in our school was how the Cognia accreditor and the two Cognia accreditors were very deeply embedded in public schools, large public schools, and the kinds of expectations and questions, and even some suggestions for improvement really had a strong tone of the public school, sort of setting. And we're a private school, independent school. And they weren't even aware of some restrictions on us in our state regarding standardized testing, things like that. So I think it's really important to have that private school understanding that CISNA would provide.
Brother Asad, we will brave the cold should the visit be in the winter, which is almost all the time in Canada. We're going to Dubai next month, inshallah, for accreditation at Next Generation School. So yes, we do accredit schools outside of the US. CISNA is based in the US, and it was originally established in the US, and that's why the name Council of Islamic Schools in North America, but we do work globally. We serve schools globally, inshallah.
Okay, excellent. I was just testing the bravery of coming up north.
Like Brother William said, the islands or the cold, we're good. Wherever you call us out to come, and inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
Assalamualaikum, Sister Shaza. Nice to see you're here. I see our Isla colleague has joined us too.
Wa alaikum assalam. Absolutely, mashallah. This is a big moment. And I've never fully understood the accreditation process, so I happen to have some time, mashallah. I'm excited to be able to learn with everybody else.
Great.
And
Brother
perhaps-
Wadud, your school is going through accreditation. I believe Cogni is doing the lead, but then you have to do the CISNA separately, because I'm working with you to schedule that, right?
Yes, inshallah. Look forward to it. We actually have a very really cool evaluator that has a lot of experience in faith-based private schools. So we lucked out with a really good alhamdulillah team, and we're
Yeah,
syncing with
Texas
them
is
every
great
week.
that way.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, alhamdulillah. So, but it's a new system, you know, there's a lot going on, but I'm excited to kind of learn this new system, because I think that it is going to, their focus now has shifted towards creating systems that can be implemented every year for a database school. And that's where we were trying to take our school anyways. So this has really helped us actually go towards that direction we set last year. So excited to like go through it and try to create a master document on the entire CISNA process, the Cognia process, and then hopefully transition over to CISNA next year, inshallah.
Yes, Texas has the, actually California, I believe, has the largest number of Islamic schools, and then Texas, and then Florida. Other questions?
Perhaps, Sister Sophia, it's an opportunity to talk a little bit about how another advantage for CISNA accreditation is that one of our aims is not just to provide the accreditation, but also to offer resources and support for schools. Unfortunately, many times when accreditation visits happen, they come across as these are the things that you're great in, and these are the things that you need to improve in, and we'll be in touch in 5 years. And that's not what we aim to do. And one of the things that we have been working on very hard, because we've seen that there's a need for this, especially in Islamic schools, but not only in Islamic schools, is the need for governance training. I'm just curious here, how many of you all are, can you do a raise of hands, are principals? You do like the raise hand feature, or physically, or if your camera is muted, you can do the raise hand. I want to see. All right, Brother Wadud raised it.
1, 2,
Elena
3.
raised it. We got 2, 3, 4. I'll raise mine as well. I saw Sister Norma raised it. Sister Layla. Yeah, it sounds like most of us. How many are board members? Any board members? You can unraise your hand if you were the principal. If there's any board members. Sister, let's see.
Razia.
Razia. So you're a board member, right?
Yes.
Good. Good. Anyone else? Sounds like that's all, right?
The
One of the,
prize. Does she win a prize?
yeah, mashallah. Well, first of all, thank you for coming, mashallah. May Allah reward you.
Yeah, this is the first time. This is my first time, and your meeting is very informative. Being in teaching myself for a number of years, I'm learning a lot.
Mashallah.
Which school are you from, Sister Razia?
I am from Dayton Islamic School in Beaver
Okay,
Creek,
yes, I remember.
Ohio.
Yes, they contacted me, I remember that.
Yeah, we're in the process. I just have one question. I have your self-study form in front of me right now. Are there going to be any changes in that? Or any of the forms that we have?
If you received the self-study prior to the agreement being signed, which was November 4th, then it's we've made a few changes, because after we completed the crosswalk, there were some elements that were in the Cognia standards that were not as developed in the CISNA standards. So we made changes to about 4, I would say 4 or 5. So if you're on that, we will, if you receive those CISNA standards beforehand, then I will, I know who that is, and I will send you the additional, like just 4 pieces of elements that you would need to address if you wanted the dual accreditation, because we have to make sure we're compliant with the Cognia standards as well. But
Yes,
there were
please,
minor changes.
yeah, because I know
Thank you very much.
Yeah, please, because I know you sent some documents to us last week, and I wasn't. It looked the same as the
Mostly it's the same.
document.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I
I'll
wasn't
double
sure.
check
Should
for
I
you,
go
Brother
back
Yusuf.
to it? Yeah. Okay, inshallah, that would
I'll
be
check
great.
it for you.
Just to say something very quickly about the CISNA board support option. So we aim to serve and fill in gaps that we see have been needed for Islamic schools. After doing many visits over the past couple of years, noticing that there are some schools, mashallah, that are doing a fantastic job at the governance level in terms of training expectations, professionalism. Others are more in the developing stage. And we've developed a support option instead of just going to schools and saying, you know, consider some governance training for your board. We've put together an opportunity in January of 2023. I saw Brother Yusuf whenever I mentioned about board training. I saw him lean forward a little bit. I saw a smile on his face. He looked interested. So just to speak to a couple of points about that, just questions. I'll ask this just rhetorically. How long have you either been a principal? How long have you served on a board? The next question would be, when was the last time that you or board members have networked with board members, school leaders from peer organizations? Had time to sit down 2 days, 3 days, get to know people, have structured activities that are both formal and informal to get to know other people so that you can leverage those strengths moving forward. And simply, it was the last time that you as a principal or board members have actually experienced a week long of actual engaging, high quality governance training. In our experience working with a lot of people, it's usually maybe 10%, right, have actually experienced something like this. And we know that our Islamic schools have unique needs, and we know that nonprofit governance has a unique situation. And many times our board members come from, mashallah, very esteemed professional backgrounds, but maybe not so much when it comes into the actual formal training and what best practices are in nonprofit governance. And then our last question to consider is, when is the last time you've had an opportunity to tour a state-of-the-art multi-million, I think I've heard numbers 10, 12, $15 million campus that is essentially the dream that many of us have for our own communities? What we'll be doing from January 20th to 23rd. So if you are a principal, you can really encourage your board members to attend this. Try to get one board member from your school to come so that they can bring back the knowledge. CISNA is facilitating this event with professional experts, 20 plus years, each of them, in doing nonprofit governance training, each in a specialized area. So we have this team, each one of them is going to be facilitating different areas. And the topics, we also have another person to add is Dr. Shariq Siddiqui, who many of you may have heard of, who does a fantastic job. He's at the Lilly Family School of Philanthropy at Indiana University, an expert in fundraising and best practices and how to get more funds and support for your school. The topics that we're going to have: roles and responsibilities of board members and school leadership, right? What are the clearly defined expectations for each of these? Sometimes without that understanding, things can get a little bit murky. That can cause tension. Or how can we make sure that we're maintaining those boundaries we already have? How to build and sustain an effective board. How to actually actively cultivate and find new people that you can make your board self-sustaining in the future. Hiring and evaluating the principal, or in this case, even if the board members are interested in coming for the masjid, this could be the imam. Strategic planning when it comes to Islamic schools, and the fundraising best practices. We're talking about sessions where, you know, an hour and a half per topic, highly engaging. It's not a lecture that you're coming to. It's going to be questions, activities, and leaving with resources that board members can actually take back to their boards to improve. Also, networking activities as well. We have activities organized with local Islamic schools, such as a bonfire, right? That's going to take place, where we're actually going to get together in the evenings after meals are served, which are provided through the hotel, lunch, dinner, and then having activities to actually sit down and get to know each other and learn from each other. But then also part of it will be the tour of the American Youth Academy's new campus that's located. And this event's going to take place in Tampa. We're talking about weather. We're talking about when we would like to go visit schools in Canada. What would be a better time if you live in the US or Canada to come do board training? Do it in Tampa, Florida. It's going to be in January. We strategically chose that time because that's when I would like to leave Kentucky to go do some refreshing training for myself so that I can help my school as a principal better understand, but also serve better as a board member through CISNA or any other organization that we serve. So Sister Sufia, inshallah, can send the link down below please encourage. We don't have that many spots. We're trying to keep the spots limited to 50 participants. Hotel rooms are already starting to fill up. So I know that this looks like it's in January. Inshallah, we'll figure that out maybe after fall break, but now is the time to make sure that you get people to sign up to this, because it's going to be a very unique and engaging opportunity for everyone that attends and the communities that everyone serves. So thank you all very much. If you have questions about that, feel free to let us know.
My question is that, was that recorded, what you just said?
Yes.
I need that 5 minutes promo to send to my board. Can you record that and send it out, please?
This is recorded. The session is recorded right now, so we can splice it out and send it. We'll cut
Yes,
out the
please.
part where you said, please record that and send it. We'll get that part. We could send that to you. We also have promotional videos from Liz Wooten Reschke, who is the lead of that team as well. Couple minute promos. We can share some of all. We have kind of a schedule set up where we're going to be sending these videos out, but we can send that stuff to you directly as well, inshallah. Anyone else who would like it.
There's also a question about the program for the retreat, if you want to speak to that.
Is the program available for the retreat? Yes, I can share the program for you. In summary, it starts on Friday. We have a Jumu'ah prayer session registration on the Friday the 20th. In the afternoon, we're going to have the philanthropy session. Saturday is going to be led completely by the Connect for More team that we showed you. And it's going to start off with, roles and responsibilities. It's very similar in structure to if you have ever attended, for example, the CISNA Ed Forum or something like that, where there are sessions for an hour and a half, 9:30 to 11, breaks for lunch, prayer. There's sessions that are kind of segmented with breaks in between, but the sessions don't exceed an hour and a half, and they're very targeted and engaging. But we can send out that information so you could see specifically what the program would include as well.
I think I would like to reiterate connecting back with accreditation to this retreat. One of the greatest benefits of taking CISNA as the lead accreditation organization is that we are aware of what Islamic school needs are. We've, among our board, we've had decades of time in and out of Islamic schools around the country and Canada. And this retreat is just one example of one of the ways that we're responding to the needs of Islamic schools. And yes, Cognia has standards and assurances just like all other agencies, but with CISNA, you really get a team that's focused on the mission of Islamic schools and really helping our schools be the best schools that they can be, because we've seen the struggles, and we're more equipped and able to respond with resources and help. And with this retreat and with accreditation, it's not like a one-time stop. With accreditation, there are follow-ups with the school to ensure that whatever needs you have are met, with providing resources or training or professional development. And the same thing with this retreat, that we will have this weekend retreat, which I think is going to be fantastic. It is the first of its kind, but we will also follow up with schools to ensure that whatever you decide or discover your needs are through the retreat, that there will be follow-ups with the organization that we're working with and with the board itself. So it's that consistent support that you'll have available to your schools that's really valuable, that you would not get otherwise, through other organizations.
There's a let's see, I'm putting the link in the chat right now, and sorry, just saw the pop-up for breakout room. Is that by mistake maybe? Okay. Yes, so inshallah, I'm going to share the recording that we've done of this entire session, and then we'll see about splicing maybe the part about the board retreat and send that to you so you can share that specifically with your board members. It's really our first time doing this, and we're really excited about it. As William said, we've identified, so many schools that visited on the accreditation teams, whether it was with CISNA or Cognia, and governance, and even the teams, even the schools that I did accreditation for that were non-Muslim schools. Governance was a big concern. The board members don't have the opportunities or don't avail themselves of the opportunities to get board development training. And then addressing the role of the board member or the board chair versus the principal, that's always a huge concern and issue. So this I wanted to answer, I've gotten questions from principals saying, can they attend the board retreat? And yes, while this is focused on board members, we believe it will be helpful to have principals there, because maybe you're the one who's going to end up training your board members, or for you to get a better understanding of what board members have to deal with, right? So, we have opened it up. Initially, we were going to wait and see, but there's been a lot of principals wanting to attend. So I want to share that with you. I haven't shared that publicly just because we're trying to really get a majority of people to be the participants to be board members. And then in the chat, there was a question about Brother Wadud. You were saying something about principal turnover and burnout and focusing on the wellness and mental health of the principals. And ISLA has their leadership retreat. I believe they're going to focus on things like that. So I'm just going to point you in that direction, perhaps, if you'd like to, and that's also in a nice warm place. It's in December. It's in Texas. And Brother Wadud, that's close to you. So that might be something that you'd want to consider.
Yes, inshallah, I'll be there. I was saying that from the board training perspective, that also at the board retreat, I think one of the really important issues that I see in our schools is that inability to understand the depth of how to take care of your head of school, and also task them with this focus area of really investing in your teacher, faculty, and staff mental health and emotional well-being and longevity of their commitments to the school. And I felt that part of the board retreat should be that focus as well. If not this time, maybe next time, inshallah.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And to maybe help in general for others to understand is that in January, we are going to send out a survey to every participant that's going to come, inshallah. And the survey is going to be as simple as, in each of these areas, what are your pain points? What are the areas that you struggle with the most when it comes to maybe roles and responsibilities? Is it that there is maybe a lack of clarity in that? And when we get that information, that's provided to the facilitators so that they can customize those sessions to be focused on what those biggest needs are from not just schools in general, but the specific participants at the retreat. But that's also a great idea to think about how to integrate, especially in the roles and responsibilities, and then hiring and evaluating the principal, that your job is not simply to say good, bad, whatever, but also to nurture that person so that they can be sustained. So very good points. Thank you.
There was an article I was just reading, it was yesterday, about the qualities needed in a leader. And one of them is to really be supportive of the people that you work with, or that work for you, that report to you. One of the biggest things that some of us are missing out on is having that support from our bosses. Let's just say, a principal for teachers to provide that support, that emotional support, as well as, in career developing their careers and nurturing leaders. But for board members to do that for their principals is very important. Anything else? I know I'm really glad that those of you who came in on a Sunday morning, a lot of people sometimes will just wait for the recording, and so I'll just watch the recording later. Sometimes it's hard to get to that recording, to watch a 40-50 minute recording of something, and then you miss out on the Q&A opportunity. So jazakallah khair, all of you, for attending. Anyone else? Then I'm going to ask Brother William if you could make a closing dua for us.
سبحان اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. May Allah reward everyone for your attendance here. Put barakah in your work, and we're looking forward to seeing all of you very soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Jazakallah khair.
And I will share my screen with you all so you can see the slides that I have. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Brother Ziad, if you could begin us with dua, please.
I'm waiting for my flight. I'm sorry, Sister.
Oh, okay,
Sophia.
no, that's
So-
okay. Brother William.
Sorry.
Brother Yusuf, please begin us with dua. You're on my screen, so I picked on you.